Big trout on. Might be my biggest rainbow through the ice, and I don't even have a tape.
Oh, he's better ball.
Big, big.
He's going on the way. Yeah, he's gonna.
WannaBOutdoors, we both have come up this morning.
Right there. Looks so huge.
This is how heavy he is, man. Go hold him up with it. Wow, what a set. What a season it's been. There's a nice go. He's not quite as tall as I thought he was. My gosh,
It's for sure.
That's really popped up on camera for us. I came for the first sit at home. You know, they're gonna make some noise. They're really have to talk about it. We gotta go.
That's a big girl, baby! Yes! Hell yeah! Oh my god, yes, dude! What is up, guys? We are out here at a little local lake. I'm home for Christmas. It is the 27th of December today, and normally I am not checking ice conditions on the 27th of December, but it was 50 most of the week, and as you can see the ice behind me, it's kind of got that little like honeycombed at the very top, like the top like quarter inch is honeycombed kind of surface to it. So I mean, obviously we didn't make any ice over the last week, and in fact we hurt the top of our ice just a little bit, and our shorelines are hurting for sure. But we're out here. We've got 5, 6 back there at the shore. You can see we've got a change in the ice right here. This side of it we're rocking 4.5. That side of it we're rocking 3.5. You get out there to the end of my line of holes that I drilled way out there, and then we're rocking 3, so I turned it back around. I just don't feel comfortable on anything less than that. You know, you get a slight deviation and all of a sudden you're on 2, which is not enough to hold you. 3 will hold you, but I don't recommend going out on 3. But yeah, I was just getting too thin that way. I wanted to get all the way back there against that shoreline, because that's where I've done well in the past. So we'll see. We may walk to this side over here and down the shoreline and then hop on the ice down there if we can find a spot to hop on. Maybe the ice is good down there, you know, may take a little hike over there. Don't have the sled with me today. There's not enough snow because it's been so warm, so threw a bucket in the pack, grab the coat, grab the auger, grab the rods, bring the minimal camera stuff that I need for just one day by myself, and get out here and catch some fish. We're gonna catch some fish. We just may not catch the fish I was after today. See you guys when there's some fish around. Big trout on. This might be my biggest rainbow through the ice, and I don't even have a tape. I was looking at about 5 or 6 crappies down there. Pretty nice sized ones too, and then this trout just came flying in. It's not crazy. We fished the last 2 holes pretty hard and there was absolutely nothing. This is a pretty good fish, I think. Ooh. Here he is. tried to hit the scoop and he went down on me. There we go. He's not as big as I thought he was. Still a really, really nice rainbow trout though. That's a nice fish. How about that? Short little stubby tail, but that's a beautiful rainbow trout getting back. Oh! Instantly. I hardly even saw him. Oh, it's a dinker. They're just little crappies. That's why I thought that trout was so huge, because I was expecting them to be, you know, at least 10-inch crappies. And they're 5-inch crappies. That's why I thought that trout was going to be a freaking 25-inch trout. Everything looks so much bigger way down there. It's also why those crappies didn't want that slightly bigger bait. Here comes another one. That looks like a better one. That looks like a little bit better one. That's more the size we're looking for. That's more the size we're looking for, boys and girls. How about that? Little crappie action. Better get a picture of that one with my phone. He's back over that way. Ooh, I've got one coming up to this though. He ate it. See if that's enough to get the big one excited to come over here. So if we can turn that big one back around. That big one's pretty nice. I'm not seeing anything though. Oh, big trout. Oh no, not on this rod. I was looking at the camera. I tapped on the screen on the camera to look at you guys and what you could see. And when I looked down again, a trout had a hold of it. Big. She still ain't ready. She's still pissed. Now she's ready. Oh, maybe. Ah, come on now, girl. Oh, that one's bigger than the last one. That's a big rainbow. Get another quick picture. I'll say none of them looked big, but there's a bunch of them down there. Bing. This was not a big one out of the group either. And he's a little bit nicer than what we've been. The last couple we've been catching. There's a lot of crappies in here right now. Just all too small. All right, guys, it's time for your rooster tip of the week, brought to you by the Rooster Bait and Tackle. Your rooster tip of the week this week is going to be late ice safety tips. Late ice, very different than early ice. You can have a foot of ice and it can be absolute garbage and not safe to go on anymore, which is actually the conditions we're working with out at Pactola as we speak. There's right at or just over a foot of ice out there. There's still guys driving their four-wheelers around, but you've got about 3 inches of good ice. And then your auger actually starts to speed up because you're going through just honeycombed chunk ice. You'll get to the bottom of the hole and it'll start throwing some like bigger chunks of ice. And what you're looking for with late ice to know whether it's good or not is just look at your shavings that your auger is throwing. And you can look at the surface, but that'll only tell you so much. You know, if you've got a foot of ice and your top inch is honeycombed, you're still good. The top inch can look absolutely terrible, but your ice can still be good. At Pactola right now, our top 1 or 2 inches is pretty good. You can see a little bit of honeycombing in like the top 1/4 inch, but it really doesn't look too bad until you get into the bottom of it. We've had some really warm weather. It hasn't been getting below freezing at night. We've been spending, 48, 60, 70 hours above freezing, which has just been killing our ice. So yeah, major things to look for is punch a hole and look at your shavings that your auger is throwing. If your auger is throwing really little shavings still, where they're not like cube chunks, you're probably good. If you're throwing little cube chunks, that's not great ice, but it's still probably fishable as long as you have enough of it. If you're throwing, big chunks, I'm talking inch plus chunks, you probably shouldn't be standing on that ice. A second thing that I look for when I'm checking late ice is cracks. You've got to watch cracks because when it gets warm, ice actually shrinks. Most things you think when it gets warm they expand, when it gets cold they shrink. Well, ice, being that it's the frozen state of water, it does the opposite. When it gets cold it expands. When it gets hot it actually shrinks. So any cracks you have will start to open up because the sheet of ice on either side of the crack is going to separate. They're going to shrink down. So a good indicator is if you have a crack and you get to the lake in the morning and the crack is, only this wide, and you go look at it at noon and your crack is this wide, your ice is probably in pretty rough shape, especially if it doesn't just divide at the top. If you've got a crack, if it starts like this in the morning and it's dividing like this, your bottom layer is still holding up pretty well. If it divides like this or like this, then you've got some serious issues. The last thing that I look for is ice color. A lot of times you'll have some like whiter or at least a little bit lighter colored ice. That'll be your higher quality ice. You will have super, super dark patches. That is where the water has actually either climbed or sunk into those honeycombed layers and is sitting in the ice. Like at Pactola right now, when you punch a hole to like stand your auger up, you drill halfway through, that hole is 6 inches deep, is full of water in less than 5 minutes. So there's a ton of water just sitting in the ice. The entire lake looks dark. Sometimes you'll just have dark patches. 2 years ago, out on Pactola at the end of the year, we just had dark patches that we had to avoid. You could just drop the spud bar through those dark patches. You didn't have to hit. You just bloop, just right through. But the good stuff that we were on, there was, an inch of honeycomb at the top and 5 inches of good ice under it. There was 6 inches ice. We were more than good. But there was those dark patches. So ice color, watch your cracks, and look at your shavings for those late ice safety tips. We're about done ice fishing this year. This weekend was the last weekend for me, but this is a video from way earlier in the year. So let's get back to the fishing.
Just barely got him. Just barely got him. Pretty good fish though. Okay, we'll see what a pretty good one looks like. Pretty good one would be just barely a keeper. Bunch of crappies here. Okay, we gotta click that up a couple. Ooh, that's a better one. That's a pretty nice fish. Wow, there was like 10 or 12 of them down there. We got the big one. That was the big one out of that whole school. 30 fish. Well, I could probably only see 10 or 12, but 30 was an exaggeration. But still, you get the idea. That was the biggest one out of 10 or 12. And if you weren't sight fishing them, you wouldn't have caught that one. You'd have just caught one of the other ones that was just there to be there. That's gotta be it. Don't think that's a crappie. Maybe it is. Big crappie, big crappie. Well, not a big crappie, but that's a keeper. That one will eat all day. That's exactly what we're looking for. Oh man, aggressive. I mean, I was way up high. Saw him start coming up. I actually thought it was a trout. Smoked that jigging Rap way up high. Okay, maybe we're just not quite in the perfect spot where the big school is, but we called an aggressive one over. Ooh, good mark coming up. That one will keep two. There's two keeper crappies. Okay. Alright. Well, that one came up slow out of the weeds. He's barely a keeper, but he's a keeper. He's a keeper because we're trying to get to 15 and we're going slow. That's got to be a trout, right? It's not fighting like a trout. Oh, that's a good crappie. Wow, they're aggressive. Holy crap, he came flying up to grab that thing. Huh. That's kind of crazy. I would have sworn that the speed that that thing came off the bottom and the way that it just annihilated that while it was moving up that fast, would have sworn that it was not a crappie. He smoked it. All right, now we're at 3 keepers. We're making some progress. Slow, but progress. Hooked up, that's a trout. Also doesn't feel like a very big trout, which I didn't think there was any little ones in here. I'm fighting a little better now. That's probably the smallest one I've ever seen in here. Perfect way to land a trout right there. You just kind of let him flip around until he flips himself out of the hole. The whole sheet that I was standing on just cracked. That's a trout. Not a very big one. I think it was a very big one. It is a pretty good one. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good one. I wouldn't say it's big, but it's not a bad one. It's a pretty good rainbow there. Let's keep you over here, girl. Oh. Treble hook right in the corner, so all 3 trebles. See if we can get those out of there. Chased me on the way down. Not with the jigging Rap. Please, let's not flop like that. There we go. Beautiful fish. Gone. It chased me on the way down as I was headed down, and then smoked it while it was still going down.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a fun one. I love going to this lake. I wish there was some quality crappies. You know, if you go back to some of our first videos, that first winter, you can see some really quality crappies coming out of this lake. Just haven't been able to find the quality, and it's not that big of a lake, so I think it just got hit pretty hard that summer. A lot of those fish got caught and kept. We kept quite a few fish for how big the lake is. I mean, we pulled quite a few limits out of there. It's not that big of a lake, so you know, I'm sure it's one of those things where the population will build back up, and you know, every 3 or 4 years there'll be really good crappie fishing there. But right now we're just still in that lull. You know, it was better this year than it was last year, and 2 years ago obviously it was really good. So I think we're coming back from, taking those fish out of there. But super fun lake to fish. It's a super remote lake to ice fish. You have got to walk quite a ways. You can't have a four-wheeler in there. So, you know, go find those remote lakes. Go find those spots that nobody else is fishing. Even if you are on a crowded lake, get away from the people, man. Get out, go find some fish on your own. Don't fish the crowd, and you will catch more fish. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will catch you next week.